Kwankwaso was axed as in axe. He was axed out of this party since 28th of August 2023. He has never been a member of our party. He had all the leverage in 2023. He ended up winning only Kano. So how is he a viable candidate? I was the publicity secretary then. I offered to be. I tried to market this man. This man is known nowhere except in the Northwest. Even in the Northwest, apart from Kano, where else did he win? Did he win Zamfara? Did he win Kaduna? Did he win Sokoto? He never won anywhere. So he was not in that election even to win. He was in that election in his usual style, trying to reposition himself for another 4 years. So that another 4 years he will be relevant enough to come back and say, okay, Nigerians see me. What do we do? Where do we go from here and all of that? So there is nothing viable about Kwankwaso as a person. And I can tell you confidently as I'm sitting down with you here, that what ADC has succeeded in doing is to inherit a baggage that will later turn to a menace within their fold.
All right, welcome to Niger Unfiltered, a SYMFONI podcast. Dr. Major Agbo is our guest on Niger Unfiltered today.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, viewers.
All right, let's start with the burning issues within your party. And that is Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso has formally resigned from the party on the 29th and joined the ADC. And of course, the Kano State Governor, Abba Yusuf, had already defected to the APC in January. Now the FCT High Court has affirmed you as the national chairman of the party, while some groups are saying that they are a factional group, that they will challenge you in court. Well, critics are saying that NNPP is now a carcass. Or if you like, are they wrong? Or what do you think?
Thanks so much. It's good that we're starting on that note. But first, let me let you understand that the highest you know is the FCT High Court judgment of the 17th. But in the past 18 hours, there's been a higher judgment from the Court of Appeal in Owerri, which has affirmed me as the chairman of the party, national chairman of the party, and which has affirmed Dr. Boniface Okechukwu Aniebonam, the founder of the party, as the founder and the leader of the party as we speak. So I know that the poster you are putting before me is because the highest you know is the 17th of March judgment from the FCT High Court. Having said that, I don't think anybody who thinks that NNPP is now in carcass is saying what is right. It can't be right because you recall that we have said it repeatedly on air that the party was 22 years old before Kwankwaso came. We also have never had any cause to dispute the fact that his coming added some value. Of course, he gave us a governor. For 22 years, we existed as a political party. We're winning elections only at the parliamentary level, state and national. You know, in 2019, we won seats at the state parliamentary level as well as the National Assembly level. In 2023, when they came, yes, he added some value. He brought the present governor of Kano State, and lucky enough, Providence smiled on him. He got elected as the governor of the state. So we have never disputed the fact that he added value. But what we have always insisted on is that his value that he added became a nuisance value. Because you don't build and destroy. When you build, you consolidate. When you build and destroy, you are an evil person. I hope that word may not be too harsh, but it's a general term that I use to describe people who are mischievous and who are not straightforward, you know. So people will say that politics is all about interest, but when the interest becomes selfish, and the interest becomes an interest that's against collective interest, it becomes an issue. So if we were there for 22 years before he came, we were never deregistered. You recall that between 2002 and 2022 when he came, there were a series of deregistration exercises. Mahmoud Jega did his own, took away, 2 times he did his. I think one was about 39 political parties were involved. The second time was about 72, because I was an IPAC leader at that time. So I'm very, very conversant with statistics as it relates to the parties that were asked. You know, the position of our law as it stands now is that if you are at the end of every election cycle, if you are unable to win seats, you become delisted as a political party. And that was the window that he exploited to do that. Yakub also came and also did same on account that those parties were not winning election. But all of these exercises, NNPP was not involved. Nigerians who are now saying that the party has become a carcass should be asking themselves, how did we survive all of that? We did because we were already winning elections, you know. Maybe because we were not at the level of governorship or maybe the presidential. Maybe people never knew that the NNPP was already winning elections and all of that. So if we were able to hold fort for as much as 20-something years before he came and gave us a governor and more National Assembly members, then I don't see why anybody who is fair to us would ever think that the party is now a shadow. It's not. And the interesting thing is that the same leadership that propelled the party for 20-something years before they came is the leadership that is now back on the saddle. So we'll go back to the trenches, you know, look at details of what was done to make sure that the party was afloat for those 20-something years before they came, and then we'll consolidate on it. But the interesting thing is that the party already has made a name. Yesterday, somebody was asking me, how will you do it with the exit of Kwankwaso? I will want to advise other registered political parties in this country, especially the new ones that are coming. If you make, it is tragic to ever think of building your political party around an individual. It was strange to us because for 22 years, our party belonged to the ordinary people. Not the elites in Abuja, not the elites in Lagos, not the elites in Port Harcourt, but the ordinary Nigerians at the grassroots level. They took the decisions. They were involved deeply in the administration of the party. They came all out. They committed their small funding for the party to be able to make progress and all of that. But when Kwankwaso came, unknown to us, we didn't know. We were like ambushed. We didn't know that he's so elitist and so self-centered with his Buba Galadima and his crew. So what we saw was that they came and brought elitism into the party. They tried to estrange the ordinary people that hitherto owned the party and tried to run it from the comfort of their house in Maitama. And that was strange to our people. People now started complaining. But we said, okay, no problem. Since the elections were close by, we will deal with all of those challenges after the election. And that's exactly what happened. After the election, we went into a very protracted litigations to take back our leadership. You recall that the union was done on the basis of an MOU, a tentative MOU. I'm a signatory to it. Dr. Nebunam, the founder of the party, is also a signatory to it. Kwankwaso himself, his Kwankwasia group, and then the original owners of the party, NAGAF, National Association of Government Approved Freight Forwarders, we all signed the document. But immediately after the election, even before the election, we had started seeing traces of people who were deliberately violating the provisions of the MOU. So we didn't want to do anything to endanger the progress that was being made towards the election. After the election, we called for a review, and that was the beginning of the fight. Because people like Buba Galadima, who will never tell Nigerians the truth, they pretend on air to be the most, I don't know how to put it, the most decent politicians. But inside them, they know that these are evil people. They never allowed peace to reign. And we said, okay, if that is the case, let's deal with it. We tried to get them to the table to speak so that we can rework the MOU. If there was need to go on with it, fine. If there was no need, we disconnect it completely. And it wasn't working, you know. And the next thing was that they came to say the founder, a life member of the party who cannot be suspended, was suspended according to them and later expelled. Major Agbo, who ran the party until they came, was suspended and later expelled. And we say, how? So we now said, okay, no problem. We went to court in Abia, where we got a judgment that directed INEC to return the party to the Board of Trustees under its chairman, Dr. Boniface Anebunam. They went to Abia to try to arrest that judgment. I don't know what happened. I don't call people names on the TV, but somehow the judge was under pressure to set aside his judgment that reverted the leadership of the party to Dr. Anebunam, and also directed that all other organs of the party be activated. That was what led to the convention that gave birth to me as the national chairman of the party, you know. So they went back there trying to get the judge to take back his judgment and all of that. And we said, no, this is abysmal as far as the law is concerned, as far as jurisprudence is concerned. We now approached the appellate court in Owerri which just about 18 hours ago confirmed that the judge has no right to reverse a judgment that is already passed on merit, And while that process was on, activating the other organs of the party, I want to give you a background. Other organs of the party, we started the congresses as directed by the Abia State High Court. We had concluded the ward and local government congresses. The day the state congresses were to hold, they came with an ex parte order stopping us from continuing. They were the ones that took us to the FCT High Court. They took us to the FCT High Court. We didn't take them there. They took us there to challenge what we were doing based on the Abia High Court judgment, which directed that other organs of the party must be activated for it to function effectively. They came with an injunction, and we waited for it to elapse, went back to the court. The coast was clear. We went back and concluded the process, which gave birth to me as the chairman and Comrade Olaposi Ogini as the secretary. And the substantive matter now continued. At the end of it all, they were defeated in a matter they took to court. And the court now said, INEC, this is what you needed to do. Recognize whatever happened from that process as directed by the Abia High Court. But under Mahmoud Yakub was playing ethnic cards, sympathetic to Kwankwaso as a person. He never gave life to that judgment. And we cried loud. Nigerians were saying, what's going on? Where is the rule of law? Is this not democracy? We kept quiet because we are law-abiding Nigerians. And when we saw that it wasn't working, we now had to go back to the same FCT High Court where they took us to and lost, and said, okay, please review your judgment, that is what in legal terms they call judicial review. And at the end of the day, that process lingered from last year until 17th of March, when the same FCT High Court now gave a mandamus order, giving 72 hours to INEC to recognize the Dr. Anebunan BOT-led side and my own NWC-led side.
Are there specific issues that you can highlight why you said Rabiu Kwankwaso is selfish?
Well, these are issues, these are points that we have long marshaled out, but if we have to continue, I'm sure that the time allocated for this program won't be enough, but let me just take a few that almost disrupted the operational wings of the party. The openness with which the party existed and operated was lost as soon as he came. As presidential candidate, the founder in his usual magnanimity said, okay, you are the leader of the party, but make sure that the party is making progress. So I think he got so drunk with what was available, the space that was available for him to operate. He got so drunk with it and started now running the party as if he was running his house. Now, we had primaries for 2023 election. People emerged from the primary elections that were conducted. The names of those people were not uploaded. He moved the situation room where the party was supposed to upload candidates. He moved it to his private house in Metama, where himself and Buba Galadima were busy uploading their cronies instead of those that emerged from properly conducted primaries, which the party is known for. Openness. That's number one. It created a lot of friction. People got complaining on the streets. This is not the NNPP we knew before now. We were explaining, trying to say, okay, because we were close to the election, please let us see how we can maintain this fragile peace until after the election we'll address it. That the MOU is open, for adjustment after the election. So that's one. Two, the way the funds of the party were administered was not open enough. We didn't know what was going on with the funds of the party. You recall that it's in open space that we had to do a petition to EFCC to look at our accounts because a lot of money was raised from forms, sale of forms and other activities leading up to the election. We just couldn't get anybody to account for those funds. And we said, no, this cannot continue. You recall that Professor Akali, who was the chairman then, angrily resigned because he felt that having been registrar of NDA, having been VC of a university before, having been commissioner and all of that, he wouldn't have waited for anybody to drag his name into the mud. He left himself that if this thing continues like this and he's still on the saddle, at the end of the day, his reputation will be dented. He left. Professor Akali is not a hidden person in this country. So high-handedness was also part of it. This was a man, or rather a man, or is a man who believes that his words must be like a commandment. When did he become Jesus Christ? When did he become Muhammad? So if I say this black suit you are wearing, I want it to turn to red, and I expect you to turn it to red, are you a magician? It doesn't work like that. It means I'm looking for crisis, asking you to do the unthinkable. But that is the way he thinks. It doesn't work like that in a democratic setting. Ours is a political party guided by democratic tenets. So you don't come and become unnecessarily dictatorial, and you think it will work like that. So these are some of the issues. Then his continuous disrespect for the founder of the party, who fondly refers to him and referred to him and still refers to him as his younger brother. He unleashed his media urchins on him to abuse him everywhere. The likes of Ladipo Johnson, who says he's a lawyer. I once described him as a charge and bail lawyer who has not done any matter, because no lawyer will come on air in a public television to say this judgment delivered by so judge is fraudulent. You are calling your own colleague. If by tomorrow you are the judge of that court and you deliver a judgment, sound judgment, and somebody comes to say that's a fraudulent judgment, how will you like it? And you're a member of the bar. So we have even asked the NBA to investigate people like Ladipo Johnson. Did he really go to law school? If he did, and he was actually called to bar, are these utterances okay for somebody who is a member of a professional group? Kwankwaso unleashed them on Nebunam, Dr. Nebunam, an old man of about 74, 75 years, to be insulting him and all of that. Unfortunately, they thought they were going to be able to run away with the soul of the party. Uba Galadima once called me a small boy on air, and I told him, okay, in age, yes, I'm smaller than you, but we will see what happens. And today, this is where we are. And where is he today? His voice has eventually gone silent. Why is he not making all those noises that he's making? I had a meeting, a private meeting with Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso last week. He showed soberness. He was so sorry for all that happened, and I told him that as a leader and as a politician, somebody who has been governor for 2 terms, who has been minister of defense, this and that, why will you allow yourself to be defeated by urchins like Ladipo Johnson, Stanley Ije, and all of that? They kept telling you wrong things to do, and you kept listening to them, and this is where we are. And at the 11th hour, you are now back to say you are sorry, after 3.5 years. So that is where we are as a party.
Kwankwaso did not only leave, he went with his followers that we know to join the ADC. As national chairman, when did you get to know that he was leaving the party or leaving the movement, or did you find out like every other person from the media?
Thank you for this opportunity to speak on this. Yesterday, I spoke with AIT on this same issue. You guys are mixing this thing up. It is not right for you to say he left with his group for ADC. What he did was a face-saving measure. Kwankwaso was axed as in axe. He was axed out of this party since 28th of August 2023. He has never been a member of our party. And we kept making consistent appeals to you media people. Stop referring to this man as a member of NNPP. Stop referring to him as the leader of NNPP. But all that, those appeals fell on deaf ears. It continued. Kwankwaso, since 2023, was never, as at 3 days ago that he claimed he left, he was never a member of our party. The Abia High Court dissolved the MOU that brought us together with Kwankwaso and his Kwankwasia movement. The implication of that judgment was that Kwankwaso left on account of that judgment with his Kwankwasia group. This man, he has a lot of pride, so he's just trying to tell Nigerians that I have left the party and all of that. While this crisis lasted, we knew that they were no longer with us. They had been axed out legally. We were doing our mobilization. So the party is intact. In the next few days, I'm calling an NWC meeting within just immediately after the Salah celebrations, and we'll come out with a comprehensive report on what we have done so far and what we want to do going forward. People are talking about INEC schedules. We are not late as far as INEC schedules are concerned, because we have always been doing this job. It's just that because they recognize those group of, INEC has been working with those group of jokers. But on our own, we have been doing this work. So, and what we need to do is just to say, okay, INEC, this is what we've been doing all this while, and this is what we have. Are you not aware that our membership registration, e-registration is ongoing? It's ongoing. So we are not in any way found wanting in terms of time, as far as the schedule of activities are concerned. So the party is intact and is stronger, because this party has learned so much with good shock absorbers. Kwankwaso was more like a destructive person to it than he was supposed to be. So the party is intact and we're making progress.
Do you blame the public, or do we blame the party for not highlighting the fact that he has been sent out of the party since 2023? This is 2026, 3 years ago.
We don't blame the public. We blame you, media people.
How?
I've been on air, myself, the National Secretary, Chief Comrade Olakosi Ogini, the National Publicity Secretary, Abdul Razak, all of us have been on air, telling Nigerians to help us beg these media people to stop referring to Kwankwaso as a member of our party. But you guys ignored it. So we will not blame the ordinary Nigerians, because it is what you give to them that they take. So if I come, like I'm speaking to you now, if I say, okay, see, it is what you want the public to hear that you will give to them. So at a point we're even beginning to think that you guys are, you are, what do I call it, complicit in the entire conspiracy against the survival of the party. Because the facts are there. We made it clear. And the evidences are there. All the judgments. You see, we have had 5 matters since this crisis started. 4 effectively confirmed Kwankwaso's expulsion with his Kwankwasia group.
So why did you put
The only one that sat on the balance was Justice Wite of the FCT High Court that said, this is your internal affair, please go and settle it. No judgment out of these 5 matters, including the ones that took us to. They took us to Katsina State High Court. They were roundly defeated. They went to Kano to do one funny thing. At the end of the day, the judge discovered that in connivance with the registrar, they were trying to do contempt proceedings against me, against the founder of the party, Dr. Nebunam, and myself, for speaking on air on the situation within the party. At the end of the day, when the judge discovered that there was an underground arrangement to embarrass him, he simply distanced himself and then disciplined the registrar and those that were involved in that. So 5 matters. Out of the 5 matters, they took us to 3 courts. We went to 2 courts. They didn't get even a single one. The Owerri Appeal Court judgment of yesterday afternoon makes it 4 on our side. Only Justice Wite that said, please, gentlemen, go and resolve this matter. It is an internal matter of your party.
Well, Nigerians are saying that your faction, which recently got a court judgment, is backed by the APC government to work against the chances of a viable opposition candidate like Kwankwaso. How do you react to this?
How is he an opposition candidate?
He has joined the...
He had all the leverage in 2023. He ended up winning only Kano. So how is he a viable candidate? I was the publicity secretary then. I offered to be. I was national secretary of this party for 8 years. When the union came, I said, okay, no problem. I was acting chairman briefly when they came. I said, okay, no problem. Let me stay at the background and advise as publicity secretary, image maker of the party, with all the experience, with all the information around the party and its development trajectory. I did my best. I tried to market this man. This man is known nowhere except in the Northwest. Even in the Northwest, apart from Kano, where else did he win? Did he win Zamfara? Did he win Kaduna? Did he win Sokoto? He never won anywhere. So he was not in that election even to win. He was in that election in his usual style, trying to reposition himself for another 4 years. So that another 4 years he would be relevant enough to come back and say, okay, Nigerians see me. What do we do? Where do we go from here and all of that? So there is nothing viable about Kwankwaso as a person. And I can tell you confidently as I'm sitting down with you here, that what ADC has succeeded in doing is to inherit a baggage that will later turn to a menace within their fold. Kwankwaso will always come to you as a gentleman at the beginning. But by the time all the tigers around him, that is self-acclaimed tigers, so because to some of us, these are no tigers. These are ordinary people. The likes of Buba Galadima, Ladipo Johnson, all these braggarts, they will soon confuse him, and they will begin to set ADC on fire. He has rented people to Kano now to say, okay, this is my followership. I'm coming into your party with strength. These people are rented from Katsina, from Sokoto, from Zamfara, and all of that. He has done that now to showcase his supposed strength that is not even there. Why did he do that? Because he wants to be relevant in ADC. The truth is that ADC just inherited an unmanageable baggage. Because wherever you see Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, it is the same thing that you have seen in the past about him that you still continue to see. He's just largely very unmanageable, so difficult, so self-centered. Let me put it down.
But he built, it's argued that he built NNPP into a national force. And he was the face, the brand, and the energy behind the party in 2023.
In Kano.
Why are you celebrating his exit?
In Kano.
Even outside,
Kano is just one.
Even outside, he was perceived to be the face.
You are from which state? You must be from Abia or somewhere. Is Kwankwaso known in Abia? Is he known in Enugu? Is he known in Anambra? He's not. So if you are talking about Kwankwaso being the face of NNPP, and you are saying in Kano, I will agree with you.
But let's, for the sake of argument, 2023, anybody as such, anybody in the public space saw ANPP as Kwankwaso.
Because he gave us a governor.
And saw Kwankwaso as, before the election, they saw NNPP as Kwankwaso and Kwankwaso as NNPP. So why are you celebrating? He says it now.
Let me tell you, the first thing when they came in, the first narrative they tried to sell to Nigerians was that they founded the party. That was the first, even you as a media man, I'm sure that was the first impression you got. Because this party was operating at the grassroots level, looking for local government chairmanship as it's done in Britain and other advanced democracies. When you don't have the massive resources that is required to look at the peak, you look at the lower level. You build up from there. So our strategies were that we would be looking at the lower level. That's what we did for 22 years before Kwankwaso came. But when he came, we saw the muzzle with which he came. And we were convinced that he would be able to get Kano, looking at his level of popularity and all of that. That is the same success that we eventually got that he was not able to manage. We gave him the opportunity and said, okay, we know you can get Kano. He got Kano, actually. That is why Nigerians started seeing him as the face of the party, because for the first time in the history of NNPP, after about 22 to 23 years of its existence, it had a governor for the first time. So if he had stayed level-headed, no head-on collision with the founder of the party and the original members of the party that had majorly been dislodged just because we're looking at the collective interest of the party and Nigerians. We allowed for certain persons to be dislodged when they came, because they came and made us understand that they had the muzzle. And we said, okay, and there was no time. This thing started in February 2022. 2022, just about a year to the election. So there was no time. So there was no proper profiling. That was why we left the MOU open. We will return to it after the election. So we considered a lot of things, including allowing some of our principal people to go. And at the end of the day, the people that replaced them were even more abysmal than the people that we let out on account that there was need for the party to move on. So for any Nigerian to think that Kwankwaso is the face of NNPP, I reduce it to Kano. For the first time, we had a governor. For the first time, we had 2 senators. For the first time, we had 17 House of Reps members. These were all Kwankwasia people. Where are they today? Where is the governor? He left due to the overbearing attitudes of his benefactor. He also said that the party was involved in protracted and unstoppable litigations, and that he wasn't sure of his fate in 2027. He wouldn't want to continue with a party that at the end of the day, something would happen and it would affect him. There would be no time for him to recover from it. We lost the governor on account that Kwankwaso couldn't manage the success he got. I didn't know the governor from anywhere. He brought him, he won. So it was his duty to manage him. We lost Senator Kano South, very vibrant politician, on account of high-handedness in one full sweep. The first set of National House of Reps members we lost were 9, just like that. The likes of Rurum, the likes of Rogo, 9 at a time. These were all members of the Kwankwaso group. So something was fundamentally wrong with the Kwankwaso group that he brought into the party. But will this man allow them to even say their minds? As a Democrat, if you are in a place where you can't ventilate, the right option is to move away. That's how they moved. And today, as I'm talking to you, we have only one senator representing Kano Central. What's his name? And I know that old man, I know he will go with Kwankwaso to ADC. Today, as I speak to you, the last House of Reps member that we had standing, the deputy minority leader, Alima Daki, has also gone to APC. These people left because of the uncertainties. The governor himself complained of intractable litigations. He didn't want to risk his chances of returning to deliver services to his Kano people. So ask yourself, who brought them? Why did they leave? Was it Major Agbo that made them to leave? It's the same person who brought them because of high-handedness and being unnecessarily difficult. These guys had to leave.
Sure. Yeah, let's pause for now. There could be a second part on NNPP. Okay, now let's go to the state of the nation. Yeah. Nigeria is bleeding, and Nigerians are groaning under hardship. Fuel price, depending on your location, 13, 14, 15, as the case may be. Poverty is at all-time high. Insecurity. The other day we saw Caleb Mutwan, governor of Plateau State, going to condole people in a armor tank. People are wondering what exactly is happening. At what point do you think Nigeria became a failed state?
As a Democrat and as a true believer in the entity called Nigeria, I will not want to echo or re-echo the use of the word failed state. We have not failed.
Okay, becoming a failed state.
Okay, there are indices that we're heading towards failure.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Now, let me tell you, what Nigeria is facing today is as a result of a long period of misgovernance. PDP, 16 years. And that is why I keep saying it without mincing words. Some people will say, why are you so blunt? I will continue to say that Nigeria has never had a president that is as determined, as resolute, and as, what do I call it? I'm trying to look for an appropriate word. Determined, resolute, and committed, like Olusegun Obasanjo. The only time this country worked since we returned to democracy was under Olusegun Obasanjo. He knew what he wanted. He had firm control over those he appointed. He hired and fired at will based on your productivity as a government employee. And he did everything possible to ensure that we had a country that was stable. He was very pragmatic as a retired general. Skirmishes here and there. Then we didn't have this proportion of insecurity. But wherever there were skirmishes, as is normal, even in advanced democracies where the security network is super, he visited those places himself and dealt with those challenges the way they needed to be dealt with. When he left, he handed over to somebody that never had the opportunity of governing the country at all. So we were not able to assess him. His vice now took over. He was doing well until these sentiments of he's not a northerner, he's not this, he's not that came. You know, we are being blunt here. This insecurity was brought because a lot of people did not like the face of Jonathan. They didn't like his face. He's not a northerner. They wanted him out. We've had people like El-Rufai and the rest come on air to confess directly that they brought people into this country to destabilize it just because they wanted to win an election. The gentleman meant well for this country, tried to do the proper piloting, but they frustrated him to the extent that they brought bombs even into Abuja. Into Abuja. Just because we had a president whose face they didn't want. That was the incubation stage of what we're having now. In trying to get Jonathan out, they now compounded the problem by going to bring thugs, killers from neighboring countries. Gave them all that they needed. We have seen these things now. I'm not just speaking from the abstract. We have seen it on TV. People have made confessions of how people were brought in here to come and ensure that the South was threatened to the extent that Jonathan said, no, the blood of no Nigerian was ever worth his ambition. He had the opportunity to have obtained results of elections from so many states where there were cases of underage voting, cases of overvoting. But he told us, because I was there, I was an IPAC leader and I had access to him as the president of our nation. He said that there was no need for all of that, that since there was that conspiracy that he should leave, he was going to leave. For the first time in the history of our nation, somebody who, in quote, lost an election picked up his phone to say congratulations. Now, the person that took over from him brought this country to level 0. Economically, went down. Security-wise, went down. Everything nosedived. For 8 years. Let me tell you something. One of the biggest challenges we've continued to let people understand is that democracy is in danger if those elected on the platform of a political party are not bound by the provisions of the manifestos and programs of the party with which they campaigned. But what we're facing in this country is that anybody could win election on an NNPP platform and go in there as governor or president and begin to do his things the way he wants to do it. Did you not hear of several areas of disagreement between the then president, late Muhammad Buhari, and Tinubu, the leader of the party, the present president of the country? They may have, for you and I, we may not know, but I do know that several times they had to disagree on a lot of issues. So the issue of party, until we put our democracy on this footing, that if you win election into any position on any platform, you are bound by what the manifesto of that party has documented is talking about. Until we get that right, we'll continue to have those challenges. So the issue of whether they are of the same party or that the present president was the leader of the party then, is that because he could have told the then president anything, and the man would say, you're not the president. And I'm sure that was what was happening.
But can we, despite this argument, can we exonerate him because he was also the one that championed the removal of Jonathan?
I'm not here to speak for anybody. I'm also not here to exonerate anybody. I'm here to speak for the country and what I see. There is pains everywhere. Nigerians are in deep pains, there's no doubt about that. But what I'm trying to establish here is that what we are facing today is a product of a long period of misgovernance. That is what my mind is telling me.
You've been in government and you've seen how power works from the inside. So let Nigerians know honestly, is the suffering they feel today a result of incompetence or a deliberate policy designed to keep Nigerians poor and desperate?
It's a combination of the two. Okay. It's a combination of the two. I just cited the immediate past government for 8 years was incompetent. May his soul rest in peace. But that government was made up. Do you know that I was always writing then, why are we unable to remove one minister? on grounds of being not productive so that others can take a cue from it. That government never sacked any individual. That is not to say that all the people appointed into various positions were doing well. But Obasanjo, like I said, hired whenever he wanted, and fired and hired and fired. And that put government appointees on their toes. That was a competent government. Jonathan's government did the same thing. It was a competent government that was determined and even trying to digitalize governance. But Buhari's government was incompetent because it did not only bring in competent people, that government brought people that sat tight in their positions despite their being unproductive. And the president did nothing about it.
There has been argument for and against. Some people say Tinubu is the most sophisticated politician Nigeria has ever produced. And others say he's running a cabal government that bypasses institutions. Which one is Tinubu that you know?
Maybe you're asking for my personal perception, because those who think that Tinubu is sophisticated, that's their perception. Those who think otherwise, that's also their perception. But if you're asking for my own perception, there is nothing like being sophisticated. When you talk about democracy, it is not your government as the leader. The president is only there on an assignment on behalf of the people. So his being a sophisticated individual changes nothing. A good democratic arrangement makes the president listen to you and I, even no matter how sophisticated he is. So let us not even talk about that. Let us go back to what democracy prescribes, which is that the leader, no matter how sophisticated you are, must listen to the people. So, what
is Tinubu listening to the people?
Well, I don't think we've had any serious issues that have tested the resolve of the people.
We've done that.
What specific issues?
We've done on fuel subsidy. We've done on energy.
No, when he did fuel subsidy the very first day he was. So there was no room for people to say anything. What I'm trying to say is, have we had specific national issues that called for national discourse and came out with a national consensus from the ordinary people, and the president did not?
Electoral reform.
What happened there?
The Electoral Acts that
people called for reform.
They wanted mandatory real-time transmission of results, and that was the.
Was he the one that jettisoned it, or the national? Who do we hold responsible? Is it the National Assembly or the Assembly?
Both of them, because even his comments are they assenting to it.
He was the final. He said something. It would have been dangerous for the upcoming election if that electoral act, whether faulty or not, was not signed at that moment. Do you know what the position of the law is? You are amending electoral laws. It has to be done within a time frame before an election. He said it. I heard him clearly. I'm not speaking for him, but I heard him clearly. He did say that he may not have liked all the provisions that were brought forward for him to assent to. But if he hadn't assented to it, some will say, okay, it's an agenda to create an interim government, it's an agenda to run the government into chaos, run the country into chaos so that he can continue under whatever guise and so on and so forth.
There are those who also argue that the speed with which he signed it, did he go through it? Did he consult the Attorney General to look at the provisions before signing it?
What does the law say? The law says once a bill is concluded by the National Assembly, the Attorney General is expected to look at it. The President of the country cannot be looking at every bit of the laws that he needed to sign. That's why he has an Attorney General.
So they bypassed him to the President?
No, I'm saying that he has an Attorney General, and the law says the Attorney General needed to look at it. I'm sure he looked at it for him to have allowed the President to sign. If he never looked at it, he wouldn't have allowed, because that's why he's there as Attorney General. He wouldn't have allowed the President to sign.
And let's begin to wrap up now. In the last 15 years, it is said that we've spent over 38 trillion naira on defense and security. And yet, insecurity is still suffocating Nigerians. Do you think we've had value for the investment that we've made on defense and security year in, year out?
One of the biggest challenges we have in this country is institutional corruption. All facets of government in this country are complicit in this, including the army, the police, the DSS, all other agencies that are involved in intelligence gathering. That is why sometimes these guys will come out to say, we are coming to your office tomorrow to take you off. At 11 o'clock, they will even give you time. And they will come and take you off and go. Have you ever asked yourself how? Despite having received an advance notice that they are coming, and you have communicated same to the security agencies. At a point, the army was accused of sabotaging itself. Are you not aware? In the Northeast, when funds are made available for procurement of arms, logistics requirements and all of that, and you don't get to see them, it's not a hidden thing. We are Nigerians, we must be blunt, we must tell ourselves the truth. What they are doing is they are building houses everywhere with the monies meant for these boys to use. Meanwhile, these boys are picked from the streets, from the villages, because they are looking for jobs, they are determined to get jobs. They enroll them into the army, train them for 3 months, which is bizarre. It never happens anywhere. You don't give a security man 3 months training and expect him to give you what you want. But that's what we're facing. They will tell you the shortage of men. They take these boys, including illiterates, train them for 3 months, send them there to go and fight. They don't give them weapons. They don't give them things that are required to fight. What do you expect? My brother, institutional corruption. These monies are appropriated and they go straight into the pockets of individuals at the expense of those who are at the war front fighting to safeguard this country, and then generally at the expense of the Nigerians that are getting killed every day. So until that is dealt with, don't expect any result.
You seem to have defended the present government as against the opposition, as persons will want to think. But in your quiet moments, do you believe any of these parties, the opposition party, by any stretch of imagination, can remove Tinubu in 2027, or you subscribe to maybe he settled somewhere in Abuja?
Is it the political parties that remove a president or the voters? This question should be for Nigerians.
Nigerians make up the political parties.
The job of political parties is just to provide platform.
And then you educate Nigerians.
Mm-hmm.
So what
are you going to force Nigerians to vote even after having educated them?
So if NNPP is to engage its followers, will you say that this government has impacted on them positively?
This party was registered in 2002. We fielded a candidate. We did not field a presidential candidate in 2003. That was its first election year after registration. In 2007, we fielded Kalu Idika Kalu. In 2011, we fielded Galtima Liman. In 2014, we did not field a presidential candidate for the party's internal reasons. The likelihood of us running a candidate against the present government is a decision we are yet to take. But why did I lay this background? Because our party believes in what is called strategic partnership. And we also take decisions based on our strength and available resources. Let's look at it pragmatically. We are just trying to smart out of 3.5 years of crisis created by a very selfish set of people that came in. If I tell you now that I can present a candidate to defeat Tinubu in 2027, will you agree? Though I know, as an opposition political party, the job is to present a candidate. But if I tell you I'll present one, will you agree? Because we cannot go anywhere. But I will present candidates for governorship, for Senate, for House of Reps, for state assembly, for local government. Who will do that? We don't deceive ourselves in NNPP. But that is not to say that we are sympathetic to President Tinubu as a person. We are only looking at the situation around the party. Is it feasible? Is it not feasible? Is it workable? Is it not? What do? We don't just crowd and, lengthen the ballot paper because we are a registered political party. That's one of the things that is killing our democracy. If you go to UK, you go to US, you see that there are so many parties that are not known even to the citizens of those countries. Why is it so? Because they don't believe in going to look for what they are not strong enough or do not have the blueprint to look for. You start from the smaller level. That's what we thought we were going to do with Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso when we got Kano State Governorship seat. Our agenda was to spring up from there, look at governorship seats across the other northwest states, and then eventually prepare for the top seat. But that is what he killed.